My name's Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Dispatch.
I do. You're gonna do it really well.
And I believe the world needs more dispatchers.
Around in the mud, blood, and
plus
beer.
years that I'm not working 4th of July. 4th of July.
Saying community policing, right? What about community dispatching?
So on this show, with the help of my guests, we will educate, empower, and support the heroes behind the headset. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode here at Let's Talk Dispatch with me, Ashley, the Raspy Dispatcher. This week at work, I'm settling in to my swing shift life and loving it. I'm thriving. I'm not going to lie to you. And one of my sergeants came in kind of towards the end of the evening around like 8 p.m. And he comes in, he's like, "You guys are the best dispatchers in the world." And I was like, this is a setup. There is something happening right now. This compliment out of nowhere. And he was given a tour to a bunch of kids of our department. And so he was like, "I'm just going to bring him in real quick. If you guys could tell him what you do, the amazing work you do." So I was like, this is my moment. This is what I live for. So a bunch of kids came in and I was telling them about the systems and answering their questions. And the sergeant came back and he was like, the highlight of their tour, and to quote, they said that I am cool as shit. So I'm going to take that as my highest compliment of the week. And anyone out there who has created a high school 911 maybe certification program that they're doing at schools, I would love to talk to you, love to reach out to you. It's definitely something that I'm interested in doing in my community, as well as sharing with other folks in the dispatch community how to do that if that is something they're interested in too, because I do think that there is a gap between what we're learning about emergency services on the 911 side with our youth. So if you do that, know how to do it, created your own, got it out there, please hit me up. I'd love to talk to you about it and love to, pick your brain about that process. My guest today is currently working at Priority Dispatch as a QPR evaluator and auditor. She also has over 15 years of experience on all sides of dispatch, including medical, working EPD, EMD, and EFD. She took all of that knowledge and experience in the field and put it to use in, as I was telling her before we jumped on, in one of my favorite ways of doing so, creating a children's book called In Case of Emergency, 911 Adventures, helping children understand the when and how and what piece of calling 911 during an emergency. And like I said, the kids need the info. So let me bring on Desirae to talk about that experience. Hi, Desirae.
Hello. Hi. My computer is just blowing up now with emails all of a sudden, of course.
That is definitely how it works. Let me tell you. It's right place, wrong time,
Exactly. Haven't gotten anything. How are you?
I am well. It is my day off, my Saturday. On a lovely Monday, I'm back to working weekends, which is honestly not terrible. Not gonna lie. I kind of like rolling around when everyone else is at work,
Yeah, that's true. It does make a difference. I don't know. I'm not doing the shift work anymore, and I'm quite happy with that. So.
I want to be like you when I grow up.
I don't know about that, but.
So how did you get into public safety when you were doing it,
Man. I don't know. Honestly, I started when I was 19. And I was coming home from a trip out in BC somewhere, and I was in the car, and for some reason I have no idea how or why it just popped into my head. And I was like, I'm going to be a 911 dispatcher. And so at the time, the college in my hometown, they had an emergency communications and response course.
Oh, awesome.
So I don't know. I went and I took that course for the 9 months that it was. And I ended up actually moving to Calgary, and I was a flight attendant for WestJet for a year.
Oh, hey.
And then at the same time, I had applied back for a job in Medicine Hat, and I got the job. So I moved back home, and the rest is kind of history.
That's awesome. So what was What was the experience like working the medical side? I say all the time, I don't think I'd want to, have no desire to do the medical side. When I transfer and they start throwing up, I'm like, okay, we're not needed. I'm gonna disconnect now.
Yeah, it's definitely not,
Mhm.
um, it's not a glamorous piece
Mhm.
of it, I guess, but, it's really good. Like, I started off, with Medicine Hat 911, and at the time, uh, they were triple accredited, before AHS kind of all amalgamated and stuff. So
Mm.
I did fire, police, and medical. I would have to say, like, police was my jam. Like, I really loved police. Like, but medical, I don't know. It's really cool because you actually there's more so, like, instructions and that kind of stuff that you get to
Mm.
actually help that person in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, whether it be childbirth, whether it be CPR, AED instructions,
Mhm.
EpiPens, all that kind of stuff. There's so much that you can help with. Like aspirin, administration. There's so much that you could help with before the responders get there
Yeah.
on that piece. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool for folks who are like, "I don't know what I wanna do," or "I'm just kinda filling out this line of work." There are so many different ways that folks do this job and different ways that departments have set up the job to do. So when you're doing your research, if you do have a desire to work on the medical side and wanting to, help someone deliver a baby on the side of the road or
Been
provide
there, done
someone,
that.
yeah, have someone, help them administer CPR to their loved ones. And I mean, it's tough. It's tough to get someone to follow directions in crisis in
Yes.
general, let alone life-saving directions.
Right.
But, when you're researching and you're trying to figure out what you wanna do, definitely look into the place that you're applying for and ask those questions. If they're doing police only, if they're doing fire only, if they're doing all 3, if they're only doing 2. Because that for me, it's important because I don't have a desire to do the medical side of things. So when I
Right.
lateraled, I definitely was like, "Okay, we're only doing police, right? All right, I'll apply."
Yes.
So that's definitely one of those things to look for when you're considering this line of work.
Absolutely, I think so too, and, it was really great starting off in a center that did all 3 because
Mhm.
without that knowledge, without doing all of them, you would
Mhm.
never know where your passion kinda lies and whatnot, and,
Mhm.
um, I was really lucky working with the 2 agencies that I did, and, great, AHS is a big organization, but
Mhm.
really great, management and stuff to help take care of you, like, during those moments too.
Yeah.
So, because there are some with medical and whatnot, one minute somebody that you could be talking to is totally fine, and the next minute they're not. So,
Yeah.
um, you do need to be able to de-stress and that kind of stuff. So, I guess it
Mhm.
does really, impact you on different levels, and maybe
Mhm.
police would impact you a little bit more than medical would, or vice versa, or fire, whatever. So,
Yeah. And I do wanna touch on, like you saying, having good management is super
mm,
important. And for folks who are in supervisory roles, listening to this podcast, I mean, you as a manager, as a supervisor, have this amazing ability to really impact your center by supporting your people. And I know sometimes in centers we can feel a little alone when it comes to our management, not getting it. Maybe they're a little too far removed from answering those 911 calls. So if you are in those roles, in those positions, be really intentional about checking in with your people and not just checking in to check off a box that you did it. Because
absolutely.
as we all know in the dispatch role, we know when it's phony, right? We get that dispatch feeling in our tummy, so it does go a long way to be intentional, checking in with your people and really building that culture to help each other through those hard calls and times.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that makes actually the world of difference
Mm,
for anybody in that role. So, yeah,
yeah. And
I agree.
especially when we talk about keeping people on, right? We're more likely to stay
Yes.
in a tough job where we're feeling supported versus I'm already having a tough job and I feel no support, so super
100%.
important.
I've seen so many good people come in and, they I don't think that um lots of people at times have or grasp what the job is all about, right? So, and I always say to the people that I would train, you have to give yourself at least 6 months, I would say, solid dispatching on your own to give yourself a real idea if you're going to like it or if the job's for you. Because
Mhm.
lots of people, um, it's scary sometimes, answering those lines, and especially new off of training. And I think training is really important, but just feeling that support from other dispatchers within the center or your management team is massive, and it'll be
Mhm.
the deal breaker for you.
Exactly. And I do agree that you gotta do the job free of all the critiques and the hovering, which is needed because of the type of work we do. The training
Yes.
is tough. I mean, if you're
Oh yeah.
training right now and you haven't gone home with a tear in your eye, like,
Yeah.
good for
And
you because
And
I
it's
was
so hard as a
stressing.
trainer because I just wanna sometimes push them aside, or, like, hands on
Mhm,
them. I get my hands on the mouse, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I know I'm supposed to be letting you do it, but it's just so
mhm.
hard, and because it's so
Yeah.
intense, because it's live."
Yeah. And it's so true. So if you are training, if you are a trainer, we hear you, we see you.
Yes,
You are doing the hard work of these comp centers, getting folks
absolutely.
through training. So if you are being trained and you just feel like, man, I can't do nothing right. They're critiquing me with every little thing. It's kind of the way it goes. You're gonna be overly critiqued. Even me as a lateral, I had some imposter syndrome. I was like, I swear I'm a good dispatcher. I
Yeah,
swear I know how to do my job. But the world of critiquing just happens in
it
training so
does.
much because of the line of work we are in. You kind of have
Yeah,
to have it. But then
absolutely.
when you're free, you get to kind of find your footing, find your style, and really get into the role. So hold
Yep,
on, like
exactly.
Desiree said, make it through
Yep.
and really, really get that footing and see how it feels.
If you can do that, it's a amazing, amazing career. It's amazing, job. Just the feelings, the emotions that you get, the gratitude that you feel for, uh, the people around you, the people that support you, and the people that you're able to help. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
awesome. Well, let's talk about your book because even after all the things you've done in your career, you're like, I'm
Yes.
gonna write a book, and I'm just gonna do one more thing.
Oh, well, you know what? I tend to do that to myself. I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's one more thing?" Right? I got 2 kids myself, and, they're my son's gonna be 12 here next month.
Mm,
My daughter just turned 10. So it's
mm,
it's busy, but honestly, this book, I always say, somebody up above just gave me the words one day, and it just came out. I was actually sleeping,
mm,
and or actually trying to fall asleep, and I was kind of in that REM stage where I was lightly sleeping, and all of a sudden these ideas just started coming to my head. So I popped up
mm.
in bed and I just started writing these ideas down.
Uh-huh.
And within probably 15, 20 minutes, the book was done. It was done. Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. I totally can relate to this
yeah.
because I've blown up my fiance's phone and she's like, "What is happening?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just have all these ideas coming and I got to put them out there so you
Mm.
can reel me in or keep pushing me that way."
Yeah, well,
Because
you'd hate to
sometimes it's
forget
like
them.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just
I don't
gotta
wanna forget those.
gotta throw
Yeah.
them out there. So
I
that's
think when you're in
amazing.
that sleep cycle too, some of the most, like, honest ideas start to come out,
Mhm,
and those are
mhm.
the ones that you just need to hold on to. So,
Right? Now, wait, did you have a little melatonin in your system? You
yeah.
know, melatonin.
I really didn't. I don't know. It just came, and then it took a while for me to decide that I wanted to publish it, and
Mhm,
um I had the book written out. I didn't have any illustrations yet, and
mhm,
so I just started sending the book out to publishing houses.
mhm,
And it was funny because last April I had taken my mom and my daughter to New York, and I was in New York when I got the email from a New York publishing house that
mhm,
was offering me, a hybrid contract. Because I'm a first-time author, they
mhm,
couldn't do a traditional one, so
mhm.
I had that option, and then I had another publishing house, offer me the same type of thing out of the UK, and so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at all the details and all the payment plans and that kind of stuff, and I was,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna go with Amazon. So I went with Amazon,
Hmm.
and it was really great though because they actually did all of my illustrations for me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, started off with that. It took a lot longer than expected,
Mhm.
but, at the end of the day, my book is done the way that I wanted it done, or the way that I envisioned it.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I think that's super important. And so what's kind of what is your vision for your book? What is it about? What is the premise, and what is the
Sure.
focus?
Yeah, so, it's called, like you had said, 911 in case of emergency, 911 adventures.
Mhm.
My vision was I wanted to put the 911 adventures in because I wanted to create a series. There's so
Mm.
many different, scenarios that could go on for 911. So
Mhm.
this one is
Mhm.
based on medical.
Mhm.
So the main character, Brandon, he he hears his mom screaming for help. His
Mhm.
dad has fallen off of a ladder.
Mm.
And so he calls 911, and the rest kind of goes from there. It teaches him when he should call 911 and
Mm.
maybe when he shouldn't call 911. And I wanted to keep it in a very light and humorous manner, but also with some education in it so that it still engages the children while they
Mm.
read it. I don't want it to be too heavy, obviously, and I don't
Yeah,
think that they want it that way either. So
yeah.
it's a funny book, but yes, it definitely teaches Brandon when he should and when he shouldn't call, and it also kind of gives him an insight as to what may be asked of him and
Mhm.
what's important to know when you do call 911, such as your address, such as a phone number. And I just wanted to take that fear out of that phone call
Mm.
when it came to children.
Mm.
That it's not scary. Sometimes they think it is, and if they accidentally call, that's when they hang up really fast, right?
You're
And
like,
such.
"Nope, too late, we're sending SWAT."
Yeah, exactly. Should have just let me speak to your mom and dad,
Yeah,
but
please put him on the phone. I
yeah.
had a kid keep picking up the phone and go, "You're ruining my YouTube," and hang
Oh
up.
no.
I was like, "I
Oh.
just wanna talk to your mom or dad or parent or please."
Exactly. Yeah, no. It's there's lots of education that still needs to be done, I think,
Mhm.
even in regards to children using old cell phones. That
Yeah. Oh.
parents don't understand that it can still call 911, and it's just they think it's innocent and stuff, and it is obviously very innocent, but
Mhm.
those mistakes happen, and that's
Mm.
okay. So,
Mhm.
I do feel as though that this book, um will hopefully give parents kind of the in to start
Mhm.
making a plan with their kids in
Yes.
case of an emergency. And
Yeah.
so that would be a really great time even to read the book and have your parents sit down with you and make even a fire plan up, or
Mhm.
the back of the book has a rip out page or a cutout page
Mm.
that I put a spot on there so that you can write your mom and dad's phone number and your address down
Awesome.
and put it on your fridge or tuck it in a drawer in your room so that you know where to go if you do need to call.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's creating the opening for that conversation, because the reality is not only are we educating kids, but we're educating parents as well, right? Because it's quite
Absolutely.
possible they didn't receive this information when they were growing up, and maybe they've never had to call 911, and just
Mhm.
providing more tools to open those conversations. It's educating on both ends
Yeah,
of the spectrum.
absolutely. Yeah, so I came out with this, and um now it's out there. It's on Amazon, um, Barnes& and Nobles, and it's
Ooh,
supposed to be coming to a couple other places, Walmart, Target, Indigo Chapters it should be available on soon, and,
mhm.
yeah, so it's just been a little bit of a ride, and it's great. I actually have, um, some presentations in my hometown here that I'm gonna be going
Awesome.
into the schools, and I have a grade 2 presentation that I'm gonna go do. I have a couple preschools that I'm going to do.
Very
Um
cool.
yeah, so I'll do a book reading and just a little bit of education on 911, so kinda goes hand in
Yeah,
hand.
and I love that folks like you and are putting this stuff out there, because yes, you're doing the presentations, but people can buy the book and do their own presentations with it,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
get it out there in front of their class. I mean, I have nieces and nephews who I have to correct all the time. I'm like, "No, I'm not the police. I'm the person who tells the police where to go."
Yes. My daughter is 10, and even the other day, we drove past my old work there, and she says, "Mom, what did you used to do there?" And I said, "Well, I was a 911 dispatcher." And she goes, "I know, but, like, what did you do there? Did you put people in jail?" And no. You would think
Right?
that she knows that by now, but
Right? Like, first of all, get out and walk home. I'll talk
yes,
to you when you get there.
Exactly. But it's just common, I guess, for kids. Even when we would walk
Yeah.
around in our uniforms, I'd
Mhm.
always hear, "There's a cop. There's a cop." And it's like, "I'm not a cop," but
It's
yeah.
so true. But yeah, all these books and yours include these are all going into my Christmas cart so I can
Oh,
send
that's
it to
awesome.
my nieces and nephews and have them reading about it. And it's just a wonderful tool
Thank you.
that we can implement. And I know a lot of folks out there are doing recruiting and they're doing community outreach with their departments. And
Yes.
I think we struggle a bit as dispatch to be included because we don't have the, shiny police car or the fun
Yes.
canine dog to go with. And
We got
these
the cool
these are
headset.
we do. I'll be like, "You wanna put my headset on?" No,
Yeah,
no,
that's right.
no. Yeah, so, finding different ways and tools to make the presentation fun and relatable to young
Yes.
folks, like, this is
Yep.
a great option if you're out there in the dispatch world, in your departments, working in these community spaces, trying to connect with the folks we're serving. Buy this book, bring it with you, share it with teachers in the area.
Yep.
Um,
There's so many different places they can go into, I think, just like you're saying, like schools, preschools, into those communities, victim services, like lots of
mhm,
different places. So yeah, I
mhm.
think it's accessible and it'll be good, I think, for many different areas.
Amazing. So, what advice would you give someone who is considering a career in dispatch? I know you're a big author now and you've parted
Yeah.
ways with answering direct 911 calls, but looking
Yeah.
back at your long career, in this field, doing this job, what advice would you give your younger self getting into this field?
Oh, it's been about a year since I took a 911 call, but
Mhm,
um I don't know. Like I had said, just make sure that you give yourself the time to enjoy the job, to make sure, or just to see all the aspects of it, just to make sure that, you're not selling yourself short if you're
mhm,
having a rough few weeks, or just take the time to be kind to yourself. And
mhm,
it is a great career. And I think that it's one that you can hold on to for a long time. Like I said, it gives you so much, I want to say joy, but at the same time, there is pain and sorrow and that kind of stuff
mhm,
that's going to come along with it. But yeah, if you ever think of it, even some 911 centers, I'm not sure how many anymore, do sit-ins, right? So
mhm,
that's sometimes even part of the hiring process is that you have to do a sit-in.
mhm,
Um, you actually really do understand what it's about. Some people say
mhm,
that we're just glorified call takers, and some people actually think that's the job that's
mhm.
what you're coming into, until they see how the whole system works in itself. So yeah, just make sure that you give yourself the time to um, see that if it is the job for you or not.
Definitely. So, so true. I'm a big, big, big fan of sit-alongs. If you can get in there
Yes.
through your hiring process or even reach out to your local department. Typically, they do have the same way they have ride-alongs. They usually have sit-along paperwork as well. They do exist. You might just have to look a little harder for it. But it is one of my highlights of my application process was my sit-along. I
Yes.
sat with one of our at my old agency dispatchers and just the way they did the job and managed the crisis, and I was like, wow, this is pretty badass. Like, I can do
Yes.
this.
Yep. It really does. I don't think that lots of people really understand when you have all the computer screens in front of you, you have all the radios going, you have
Mhm.
some centers, even you're the one taking the call, doing the
Mhm.
radios, doing everything
Mhm.
yourself. So lots
Mhm.
of multitasking. But yeah, it's been a great career for me and I've really enjoyed it.
Amazing. Well, Desiree, thank you so much for coming on the show,
Thank
sharing
you.
your journey with me, sharing your book that everyone needs to go buy. That's an order. Um, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all the
Yes.
places. We love a good Amazon find.
That's
So
right. Absolutely. Yep. Yep, it's just paperback. You can get paperback or a ebook if you want. So the choice is yours, but there's nothing better than like a book in your hand type of thing.
Yes, so
So,
true, so true. And I'm
yep,
sure there's gonna be more because like Desiree said, it's Adventures of
yep.
911, so there's gonna be more stories to come. So definitely grab this first one and be on the lookout for more adventures that Desiree is gonna be putting out there.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'll be right back with you, Desiree.
Okay, thanks.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us here on Let's Talk Dispatch with another episode. Truly, folks who are taking their experience and putting it into children's books or even, regular books, just talking about the hard jobs that we're doing as dispatchers. It's really one of my favorite things to see coming to light. Honestly, I one of the things when I was starting YouTube was I was looking for books about 911 and it was scarce out there, man. At least it wasn't anything new. And now I have like 5, 6, 7 books out there that I've seen, and I'm sure there's more coming and more that I'm not aware of that are created by dispatchers answering and teaching the things that dispatchers need folks to know when calling 911. So I really just think it's wonderful. Desiree, thank you for taking your experience and putting it out there for the folks to hopefully make our jobs a little easier on the other end of it, right? So with all of that, make sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Again, I say it, I'm going to continue to say it. Leaving that review definitely helps get the podcast in front of folks who need to hear it. So please hit that subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, and of course, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials. And if you do want to be a guest, head over to theraspydispatcher.com. Pick a date and time that works for you. Super flexible. I get shift work. I promise it'll be a fun chat. And lastly, if you do have a story to tell, but you don't really want to be on camera to tell it, you can submit your story in writing on our website under the Tell My Story tab, or you can send me an email, ashley@theraspydispatcher.com. Looking for the good, the bad, the hilarious, and anything in between you want to share with the world. So again, thank you all so much, and until next time, stay raspy. Thanks for joining us here on Let's Talk Dispatch. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Consider joining our Patreon for exclusive content, early access to episodes, and discounts on merch at theraspydispatcher.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of these things help support the creation of more content because the world needs more dispatchers. Thank you all again for the love and continued support. And until next time,